Between the United Kingdom and the United States, there's an ocean. Like literally, go check it out. It's called the Atlantic. It's on maps and globes and everything, so it's not that hard to find that. There's also a lot of differences as well as similarities. One of the things I think that paints a very clear picture of not only the similarities and the fact that both the UK and the US have country homes, but that's also where they're also different, because in the UK, a country home is indicative of wealth or someone of nobility. Whereas in the US, someone that's living in a country home or home in the country is normally a sign of someone who's at the bottom level of the middle class, or they're living at or well below the poverty line. This is going to be a comparative reaction, where we're going to take a look at the differences between country homes in the US and the UK, and the contrast between the designations of class that live within each. Hope you enjoy this.
There's nothing like a good country home, and in England we're absolutely spoiled for choice. From modest country getaways to gargantuan castles and palaces, there's something in England to suit every taste. But whilst most of us could only dream about calling such magnificent houses home, we're fortunate that nowadays a lot of these places are open to the public. In this video, I'm counting down 10 of what I consider to be the grandest and most magnificent country houses in England.
I have to show y'all some country houses we got. I have a feeling it'll be a wee bit different.
Here is my list of top 10 most magnificent stately homes to visit in England. Kicking things off is the spectacular Harewood House, situated close to Leeds in West Yorkshire. I've visited Harewood a number of times over the past years, and it never...
That looks frickin' just fantastic. Holy crap. Yeah, our country homes and yours are a wee bit different.
fails to impress. Built between 1759 and 1771 by Edwin Lascelles, 1st Baron Harewood, Harewood House has a bit of a dubious past. The Lascelles were wealthy plantation and slave owners, whom, having accrued a magnificent wealth, invested it in the construction of Harewood. Designed by the celebrated architect John Carr, the house is certainly pleasing on the eye, and it sits within one of the most beautiful landscapes in England. The interiors too are utterly magnificent, with Robert Adam working his usual magic. In fact, these are recognised as some of his finest interiors, and the luxurious long gallery is certainly a sight to behold. What makes Harewood so impressive is its beautiful design. The exterior of the house is done in the Palladian style, and unlike most other Georgian period houses in England that might appear quite similar.
Now, I hear the words country home, and I'm not thinking of like a palatial place like this. Like that's, bruh, it seems like a lord or something like that, you know? It just, oh my God.
Harewood has a certain panache about it, and is one of my favourite examples of English Palladianism.
While we do have these types of homes in the US, they were built by titans of industry, since we have no nobility here. Such as the Biltmore Estate, which was built by George Vanderbilt in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, it originally sat on 125,000 acres of land. It's the largest privately owned home in the US at 178,920 square feet of floor space. And of that, 135,280 square feet of living area. It has 250 rooms, required 1,000 workers and 60 stonemasons to build between 1889 and 1895. The cost to build the mansion was reportedly $5 million, which would be equivalent to $189 million in today's money. Now, over time, portions of the property were sold to the government to create things such as the Pisgah National Forest, and it currently sits on only 8,000 acres of that original 125,000 acres of land.
Next up is the imposing Hardwick Hall. I actually only visited Hardwick for the first time in 2020, and to say that I was blown away would be an understatement. Built as a prodigy house, this means Hardwick was built with the sole intention of showing off, and was designed to showcase its owner's magnificent wealth and influence. The house was built by Bess of Hardwick, whom, having married no fewer than 4 times, amassed a ginormous wealth, second only to that of Queen Elizabeth. Of course, she required a house worthy of her status, and completed in 1597, Hardwick left no one in any doubt about its provenance. Built to the rules of symmetry and said to contain
again, like, we've got a massive difference in, about the closest thing we got would be like the Biltmore Estate, but even, I mean, you know, that's, wow, oh boy. That are plantation homes. Like, that's about the... I have to show y'all what country homes are around here where I'm at.
More glass than wall, the National Trust's Hardwick Hall is one of the finest examples of Elizabethan architecture in England. The hall is indeed very striking, and you may recognise it as Malfoy Manor in Harry Potter. Hardwick's tapestry-hung interiors are equally as impressive. Again, clearly designed to impress, the interiors are literally fit for royalty, with the spectacular Long Gallery serving as the largest surviving Elizabethan Long Gallery in England. The internal spaces at Hardwick are so vast that they absolutely have to be seen to be believed. Hardwick Hall is perhaps the grandest prodigy house in England, and was home to one of England's greatest women. It truly is a house worthy of recognition.
We have one such home here local to me, which I visited, and you're seeing some of the B-roll of at the moment. Still pales in comparison to any of the homes we're looking at, or even the Biltmore, as it falls far short of either. As beautiful as the land and as quaint as the home may be, it was a working home set along a canal to produce and ship goods. So today we're at the Stony Landing House. Now, this was bought in 1839 by John Barrow. It was built in 1843. This is the closest thing I have to me, unless I go to other plantations, that's anywhere close to what y'all have that y'all consider country homes. Now, this is sitting on 8-foot brick pillars, and the land itself was bought from, it was 2,700 acres, bought off the original 12,000 acre plot that was granted back in the 1600s. The only other thing that I could do or take you to show anything similar to what y'all have for country homes would be to go to other plantations. But that would be kind of a moot point because you're going to get much of the same. Maybe some are bigger. Instead, from here, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you some actual homes in the country and why people live there. Because, you know, not everybody's royalty over here. Now, one of the things about the Stony Landing House, this overlooks is the Santee Canal. Now, the Santee Canal back in the day was one of the shipping lanes to, from inland to the port of Charleston for indigo, tobacco, cotton, and things of that nature.
Highclere Castle is likely most recognisable as the home of the Crawley family in the hit TV series Downton Abbey. Although Downton is set in Yorkshire, this architecturally spectacular house is actually situated in Hampshire and sits within a It
looks like a castle. It doesn't look like a house. It looks like a castle. What the hell, man?
stunning 1,000 acre estate.
That being said, these are some beautiful, beautiful places.
The Highclere Estate has a long history, dating back to Anglo-Saxon times. The house we see today, however, was built in 1679 when it was purchased by Robert Sawyer, Attorney General to Charles II, and also great-grandfather to the current Earl of Carnarvon. Highclere, however, owes its current striking appearance to Sir John Barry, the architect responsible for designing the Houses of Parliament, who in 1842 transformed the house into the spectacular castle we know and love today. The castle is particularly beautiful, and like many other great houses, features a stunning landscape designed by the legendary landscape gardener Lancelot Capability Brown. The grounds feature no fewer than 6 18th century follies and temples, and the 1,000 acre parkland has Grade 1 listed status.
Now, for actual country homes, this is more along the lines of some of the stuff that you'll see. Stuff like that. When I think of country living or country homes in general, This is a type of area that I'm thinking of, and it's kind of type of area I grew up in. I've spent most of my life in this area, and it's beautiful. As you can see, the homes much different than the one that we looked at on Fairlawn Barony. You got little houses like that, little single wides like the one that's coming up, like that. And this has been there. These homes have been there for generations. Some of them have been rebuilt, but the property these people live on have been owned by a lot of these families 60, 80, 100 years. Now, the original owner of a lot of these properties took and sold and everything, but these are, when I think of country homes, this is what I'm thinking right here. Ones like this.
Longleat House is a beautiful Elizabethan period home situated near to Warminster.
Look, these are some beautiful places, right? No two ways about that. There's got to be, outside of lords and stuff like that, and people of high class, there's got to be regular home ownership there, right? Granted, these are some beautiful places, but these look like they're fit more for kings and queens and princes and princesses than your normal Joe Blow. Like, I see 10 best country homes. I'm not thinking stuff that's going to be touristy or tourist attractions, because I'm willing to bet tourists take and go to all of these places. I mean, the one's got Downtown Abbey taken and actually being filmed there. So, Country Estates might have been a bit of a better title for this one, or maybe it's just me and the country bumpkin in me. I don't know. Granted, these are absolutely gorgeous.
In the southwest of England, this stunning prodigy house is another historic home purported to be one of the finest examples of Elizabethan architecture, and is the seat of the Marquis of Bath. Built by Sir John Thynne between 1568 and 1580, Longleat was the first of the so-called prodigy houses to be built in England, and allegedly the first to be built with the sole intention of wooing the monarch. It's a spectacularly beautiful country home, and its architect Robert Smithson was one of the most celebrated architects of the time. The house is quite exceptional and is set within 900 acres of beautiful Capability Brown landscaped parkland. Longleat is famous for being the first stately home to open to the public, and also home to the first safari park outside of Africa.
Jesus Christ. Again, kind of looks like a castle. Or at least the fact that it's got a courtyard in the middle, and then it's got all the stuff, like, oh my God. That's absolutely just stunningly beautiful. That top-down view is like the magnitude of it. It's like, bruh. 900 acres. Son. The fact that you're going to have the first safari, open the first safari outside of Africa, you got a little bit of dough.
Amazingly, Longleat has remained in the hands of the same family since its inception nearly 450 years ago, and today is home to the 7th Marquis of Bath. Lyme is an absolutely glorious country house and park nestled on the edge of the Peak District in Cheshire. Lyme was home to the ancient Lee family for over 550 years, with the current house being constructed in the mid-16th century by Piers Ley. Although piecemeal modifications were made in the 17th century, it was in 1725 that the house underwent a massive transformation that resulted in the splendid neoclassical Palladian masterpiece we see today. Lyme is a wonderfully beautiful house, combining its Tudor core with Georgian Palladian architecture and stunning 19th century interiors. As if this wasn't enough,
Looks like the smallest out of all of them we've looked at thus far. And it's still pretty big. It also, the outside of it, it's got more of a drab exterior compared to the other ones with the work that's done on the outside of it. But it's still, I mean, it's very, very stately, very nice looking.
the house is further complemented by its surrounding moorlands and formal gardens. Lyme is a truly magnificent house, and you might recognise it from the BBC's 1995 TV adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. Lyme stands in as Mr. Darcy's Pemberley Estate, testament to its incredible reputation. Now in the care of the National Trust, Lyme is one of the most impressive houses in the Trust's portfolio and a very popular tourist destination.
I would bet so.
Like Hardwick Hall, Burghley House is a stunning example of an Elizabethan prodigy house. Built for and largely designed by William Cecil, Lord High Treasurer to Queen Elizabeth, this incredible structure is one of the finest 16th century houses in existence today. Situated in Stamford in Lincolnshire, construction of this spectacular house was begun in 1555 with the erection of the East Range. It took around 30...
Didn't finance here to Queen Elizabeth. Bro, absolutely just, it's massive. Holy hell, it's beautiful. The grounds that are around it, just from this right here, look just awesome. Bro, folks got some moolah.
32 years for building work to be fully concluded, however, with the north front not being completed until 1587. Like so many other great prodigy houses, Burghley was designed to impress, and with Cecil being one of the most powerful courtiers in the land, absolutely no expense was spared on this spectacular home.
Built to impress. You think, like, there's no reason to build something that looks like that unless the sole goal, other than staying there, is to impress people. Like, oh my God. And I can imagine people probably coming up to it just dumbfounded. Like, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Furthermore, with hopes of one day housing the monarch herself, Burghley was certainly grand enough and large enough to entice the Queen and her enormous entourage. The scale of Burghley is also quite amazing. Featuring 35 major rooms and 80 smaller ones, this enormous palace of a house is like nothing else of this period. Architecturally spectacular and featuring decorative chimneys that dominate the skyline, Burghley is one of the most magnificent country houses in England.
Disparity in incomes in the United States happen in more than just urban areas. The rural or country areas also highlight the income disparity that's often overlooked. The Bureau of Economic Analysis found that the personal income in metropolitan areas increased more than in rural areas to the tune of 6% versus 4.7%, and a higher percentage of households in rural areas have incomes well below $50,000 compared to non-rural areas. Furthermore, according to data from the Federal Reserve of New York, people in cities earn about 23% more than people in rural areas. In Charleston, South Carolina, which is 45 minutes away from me, the median income is $91,000 versus Bono, which is the town closest to me, which holds a $58,750 median income. And the disparity goes even further than that. The town on the opposite side of me, which has a median income of $34,928. So the income disparities between rural and urban areas can oftentimes be very vast, even more so than some of the economic areas of disparity that exist within urban areas by themselves.
No top list would be complete without the inclusion of the mighty Blenheim Palace. Situated in...
I get a palace is a home, but come on, man. Show something that's palace. Like, bro, I'm just going to say right now, from the architecture and everything, I love the Roman columns, or the columns that are on it. Roman style columns. Beautiful. Absolutely. And the high windows. The thing is, I mean, it looks like they weren't wanting for any kind of light. Like that, you open drapes on that, and this light's going to be flooding in. That's massive, though. Oh my God.
In Oxfordshire, Blenheim is the historic seat of the Dukes of Marlborough, with the estate being gifted to the first Duke, John Churchill, following his military success in the War of the Spanish Succession. The palace has remained in the hands of the Dukes of Marlborough ever since, and was significantly the childhood home of British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill. Built between 1705 and 1722, Blenheim is the only non-royal house in the UK to bear the title palace, and also enjoys UNESCO World Heritage Site status. Like Castle Howard, Blenheim was designed by architects John Vanbrugh and Nicholas Hawksmoor, and serves as one of the finest examples of Baroque architecture anywhere in England. In addition to the colossal house, Blenheim also features 2,000 acres of parkland designed by Capability Brown and 90 acres of spectacular formal gardens. It's no wonder Blenheim is so popular with visitors, and it serves as one of the most popular tourist destinations in Britain.
That soft or that beige color that just seems to, soft brown, beige, whatever you want to call it, that's absolutely gorgeous. And the grounds there, bro, that looks like a place you'd want to take and go visit. Just saying. Just so you can say you've seen the damn thing. That's gorgeous.
Nestled in the Derbyshire Dales sits one of England's grandest and most famous homes. Likely recognised as the home of Mr. Darcy in 2005's film adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, Chatsworth serves as the seat of the Duke of Devonshire, and has been the home of the Cavendish family since Bess of Hardwick and her husband William Cavendish purchased the estate in 1549. Cavendish was Bess's second husband and had amassed a small fortune as a commissioner for the dissolute.
Had amassed a small fortune. I'm guessing we hadn't even seen the entirety of the outside of it yet. We're just seeing bits and pieces. Small fortune's probably an understatement. Like, the ornateness of this intricate work that's here on these gates is just absolutely beautiful, dude. Arches, again, columns.
Illusion of the monasteries. Having purchased a number of properties together in Bess's home county of Derbyshire, it was Chatsworth where they chose to construct a magnificent Elizabethan home. Little of this remains today, however, with the house being completely remodelled in 1707 by the first Duke, and further expanded and modernised by the 6th Duke in the late 18th century. The result is one of the most opulent and easily recognisable homes in the world, and one of the UK's most visited tourist attractions.
That is
one of the
beautiful.
reasons why visitors keep coming back is the magnificent interiors. The painted hall, for example, is one of the most exquisite indoor spaces, and the magnificent library is recognised as containing the largest private collection of books anywhere in the UK. The grounds too are absolutely exquisite, with key features being a monumental Victorian rock garden and a
dude, those, I wonder how many books are in that, and how long they date back to. That's beautiful looking house so far. That right there interests me probably as much as everything else about it. Just a simple, how old are some of those books? How many of them are you actually able to open without taking and risking damaging it due to time? Oh my God, dude.
Magnificent 300-year-old cascade. Chatsworth is truly breathtaking and is well worth its status as one of the UK's most spectacular stately homes.
Alright, so this is a couple more examples of types of homes you'll find out in the country here in the US. And these are nice homes, these are nice little pieces of land. I've pretty well lived in this area since I was 15 years old. Now, I've come and gone a few times thanks to life, but pretty much almost uninterrupted with the exception of a year here or a year there. I've lived in this area. Most of these homes are still owned by the same people who owned them whenever we first moved to the area. There have been newer homes that have been built over here, but for the most part it's all either everybody's family and they've been living in this area for, I know my wife's family has been in this area for a good 60-70 years, and that's just going back to her grandparents. And their parents also lived within the area as well. Most of these are very much homes that were passed down, or kids that were born in the area, built homes, and decided to take and have a life here, not far from their own parents. And that's much of what you see here. Now you can go 20 minutes out to the next town, and most of the homes are $5, $6, $7, $8, $900,000 or well over $1 million. These homes 10 years ago, the ones that would come on market, you could get for $100,000, $120,000. Now, unfortunately, due to the fact that we fortunately have a booming economy, we unfortunately also have a skyrocketing and booming housing market, which has led to now a single acre of land without a home on it, or a well, or any tie-in to septic being $40,000 an acre, and the home starting at $400,000. Whether you want to call that progress or not is up to you. The unfortunate part of it is the amount of people that are being affected due to the increase in property taxes, as well as outsiders that are moving in that unfortunately will eventually lead to developers moving in. That is literally out in the middle of nowhere. Papillion Chapel. You can tell by the roof it's an older church. It's on private property now. Got signs all over talking about security cameras in use. Hosted private property, don't come in, basically. Like, stay away. I've taken do some research on that. Nice looking, it's a beautiful place though. And for the age of it, you'd have to, I'd imagine that probably built early 1800s maybe. It don't look like it's built in the 1700s. Of course, and again, stuff that was built then lasts better than shit that's built now. So there's no telling.
Castle Howard is one of the largest, grandest and most iconic stately homes in the UK. Situated in the Howardian Hills in Rydale in North Yorkshire, this colossal stately home has been in the hands of the Howard family for over 300 years. Built for Charles Howard, the 3rd Earl of Carlisle, the house was dramatist John Vanbragh's first ever commission and largely constructed in the Baroque style. With construction beginning in 1699, the bulk of the house was completed in just 10 years. That said, it took around 100 years for the house to be considered finished. Castle Howard sits at the heart of
Imagine building a house and it being done after you're dead. Dude, it's absolutely stunning though. Oh my God. The dome reminds me, like, it looks like Georgia took and kind of styled the dome that you see right there. And that top piece almost after that. Except they went gold, but it looks very similar in the way it's in the way Georgia has theirs constructed. Like, I could see the reason why if that's where they took inspiration for it. This is just, bro, these homes, these folks had money. Of course, being lords and, you know, dukes. Have a little bit of money.
9,000-acre estate, which in addition to the house comprises parkland, farmland, temples, monuments and mock castle walls. The estate is vast indeed and truly extraordinary. Castle Howard is particularly iconic as it serves as the home of Sebastian Flyte in the film and TV adaptations of Brideshead. More recently, however, the house featured as the country home of the Duke of Hastings in the popular Netflix production Bridgerton. What makes Castle Howard so spectacular is its extravagant architecture and opulent interior.
Which they need another season of Bridgerton. Like the last season, it just left us kind of hanging. So
the Great Hall, for example, serves as one of the most elaborate and magnificent indoor spaces anywhere in the UK and is truly a sight to behold. Castle Howard is my personal favourite country home in the UK and is bested only in terms of size by my number 1 entry. Coming in at number 1 is the gargantuan Wentworth Woodhouse. Situated in Rotherham in South Yorkshire and currently undergoing a multi-million-pound restoration, Wentworth Woodhouse is one of the largest houses in Europe and features the longest facade of any house in England. Largely built by Thomas Watson Wentworth, the first Marquis of Rockingham, this incredible structure replaced an earlier Jacobean house that had served as the historic seat of the Earl of Stafford. Thomas had inherited the Wentworth estate and fortune from his father, who had in turn inherited it from his maternal uncle, William Wentworth, the second Earl of Stafford. This was something that had been bitterly resented by the Earl's cousin Thomas Wentworth, who had fully expected to inherit the family fortune and titles when the Earl died childless in 1695. Thomas Watson Wentworth then found himself in possession of the mighty Wentworth Woodhouse, and not to be outdone by his jealous Wentworth cousins, who were busy at work creating the nearby Wentworth Castle, set about creating the most magnificent house England had ever seen. Built in 2 campaigns, the
So we've had a palace and you know, castle or whatever is what it's been called. We got one that looks like a castle. And this is what takes, like, that's saying something, like, yo, the one-upmanship.
Baroque-styled West Range took place between 1725 and 1735. The paint had yet to dry on this, however, before Thomas turned his eye to the erection of an even larger and grander East Range. Built in the more fashionable Palladian style, this new range was completed in around 1750 and was considered the first great Palladian house in England. The interiors of Wentworth Woodhouse are considered some of the finest Georgian period interiors anywhere in the country, and it is reckoned that the house has around
The color of it, like that black that's on it, it's almost like the house itself has a patina, which I don't think, granted, this is all stone and stuff like that, but still, just, unless it's the type of stone, but it gives a house, it looks like it's got a patina to it, which, absolutely gorgeous. Because you normally see something like that on stone, and it makes it look kind of dirty. It doesn't. It gives this it gives this character, and kind of shows it shows the age a little bit.
365 rooms. The standout piece has to be the breathtaking
So you could have a different room every day for an entire year. That's crazy.
marble saloon, featured not so long back in the Downton Abbey movie. Wentworth is truly colossal in every sense, and when its restoration is complete, will likely serve as one of the finest country houses open to the public anywhere
The inside
in the
of
world.
that is gorgeous.
The prospect of bringing this fantastic home back to life is truly exciting, and I can't wait to see the results.
As always, link to the original video is in the description. Go check out the channel. Looks like they got some really good stuff. Yeah, country home. So basically vacation home or summer home. Second home. Or one of many homes for some of them, it sounds like. So I see country home and I'm like, oh, you know, I'm thinking maybe it'd be a little bit big, but I'm not thinking like these type things. These look like, some of them look like castles, like one of them has the name Palace. So absolutely gorgeous regardless. Absolutely beautiful. The fact that so many of them are lords or dukes, or they worked in the employ of a king or a queen, kind of self-explanatory of how they come about getting some of these or building them. You know, it's just a wee bit different. Like I said, I see country home, and two totally different things. Wires got crossed on this one because I was like, oh, wait, hold on. And it just, for whatever reason, slipped my mind on the fact that for y'all, country homes is something that a lot of the upper crust of society and nobility would often build or have, so they could, you know, they wanted to go off for a weekend. They had a home out in the countryside that they could go to. So thoroughly enjoyed it though. I definitely want to see a couple of those just because it's just absolutely stunning, and the architecture as well. But the painting in some of these houses, man, like the drapes and everything that was on the one wall that had the paintings that were, dude, looks absolutely awesome. And then the ones that got painting on the damn ceiling, like, what? Are you serious? If I'm painting on the ceilings because I've had to take and fix a water leak, is brown the drywall at the on the ceilings. I'm having to take and use some white paint to take and cover it up after the spot's been fixed. So, you know, a little bit different type of painting there. even taking into account the fact that the income disparity between urban and rural areas, there are perks living in a rural setting. We have more access to areas such as this, and oftentimes lakes or rivers, as well as forest and nature as a whole that isn't possible in urban environments outside of planned green areas that are nothing more than rolls of sod on dirt patches, around which the homes come at a premium price because they're often labeled as family friendly and they're counted as amenities. Whereas here in rural areas, we live within the amenities. The flip side in rural areas is the want by corporations and investment firms to develop large communities of single-family homes, which drive up property taxes of families that have been living on properties sometimes for 2, 3, 4, or even more generations, as in the case of the Gullah people here in the barrier islands of South Carolinas, or mountain folks in beautiful Appalachia, and homes often double and triple or more in cost to squeeze out the people born and bred in these places. The fact remains, whether your country home is a result of being a lord or is a mobile home at the mercy of weather from the Lord, both are a sign of class. One upper, one lower, but it's a stark reminder the commonalities and differences shared by our respective countries. I hope you enjoyed this and maybe learned a little something along the way. Y'all be good to each other. Love yourselves. Peace.